Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the most dangerous combat sport in the world, American politics. And things, ladies and gentlemen, are heating up. Imagine how Donald Trump must feel right about now. With these Epstein files, they are heating up, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot, you can only imagine how our president is feeling right now. The heat is on. Names are being exposed. We're going to go to our
Yahoo article.
where it immediately says here, key takeaways. The Department of Justice redacted the names of 6 individuals labeled as co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein, including Leslie Wexner and Emirati businessman Sultan Ahmad bin Saliem in the Epstein files reviewed by lawmakers Rep. Ro Khanna and Rep. Thomas Massey. These guys are really going at it, okay? They're making sure they're leaving no stone unturned right about now. Okay, here we go. Lawmakers were allowed to review unredacted Epstein files at a DOJ satellite office, but some, like Rep. Jamie Raskin, criticized the limited access and insufficient time given to go through over 3 million documents. President Donald Trump reportedly called then Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Redier in 2006 to express knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's activities with teenage girls, contradicting his previous claims of not knowing about Epstein's crimes. Now, let's pause for a minute and read that one more time. Once again, it says President Donald Trump reportedly called then Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Redier in 2006 to express knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's activities with teenage girls, contradicting his previous claims of not knowing about Epstein's crimes. Okay, so now Donald Trump has contradicted himself, previously stating that he knew nothing about the crimes, but now is alleging that he called a police officer in regards to this incident. All right, let's see what we got going on here. All right, it says the co-sponsors of Epstein Files Transparency Act say the Department of Justice withheld the names of withheld the names of people the FBI previously labeled as co-conspirators of the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, including billionaire Leslie Wexner. On the House floor Tuesday, one of those lawmakers, Rep. Ro Khanna, the Democrat of California, revealed the identities of 6 people the DOJ redacted in the Epstein files, all of which he and his co-sponsors, Rep. Thomas Massey, Republican from Kentucky, found during a 2-hour review of documents Monday at the Department of Justice. So we have both the Democrats and the Republicans working on this investigation. Okay, here we go. Besides Wexner, the former Victoria's Secret CEO, the department redacted the identities of Emirati businessman Sultan Hamad bin Saliem, Salvador Nurara, Zara Melekades, Leonov, and Nicola Caputa. According to Ro Khanna, that is, no public information is available about any of those identified by Khanna, except for Wexner and bin Salem. There were six, this is a quote here, there were six wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reasons, unquote. Connor said, quote, if we found six men they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files, unquote. In a post on X, Massey shared a FBI document from 2019 that identified Wexner as a, quote, co-conspirator, unquote, in the Epstein's case. Although it contained no details on his alleged role in Epstein's sex trafficking operation, Epstein's former assistant, Leslie Groff, was also listed. Macy wrote that the Justice Department, quote, tactically admitted, unquote, that Ben Salem, the chief executive of DP World, an international logistic company based in Dubai, sent Epstein a sexual explicit, quote, torture video, unquote. In a 2009 email, Epstein said he, quote, loved, unquote, the video. On Monday, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche responded to Macy's first post about Wexner, saying the CEO's name appeared unredacted in other documents. Quote, we have just unredacted Les Wexner's name from this document, but his name also appears in the files thousands of times, unquote. Blanche wrote, quote, DOJ is hiding nothing, unquote. Blanche also said that Ben Salem name appeared elsewhere in the Epstein files and only his email address was redacted. Quote, the law requires redactions for personal identifiable information, including if in an email address, unquote. Blanche wrote in Macy's on X, quote, and you know that the Sultan's name is available unredacted in the files. Stop grandstanding, unquote. Further stating, lawmakers review Epstein files. On Monday, the DOJ allowed lawmakers, including Connor and Macy, to review unredacted files in the investigation. Lawmakers were allowed to view the files on just 4 computers at a DOJ satellite office and were only allowed to take written notes of what they saw. Some lawmakers said the access was insufficient. Quote, the DOJ is giving members of Congress just 4 computers in a satellite office to read the unredacted Epstein files of more than 3 million documents, unquote. Rep. Jamie Raskins, Democratic Maryland, wrote in a post on X, quote, it would take more than 7 years for the 217 members who signed the House discharge petition to read just the documents they decided to release, unquote. After reviewing unredacted documents, Connor said the Justice Department's release still does not comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which Congress almost unanimously passed last year. The law gave the DOJ until last December 19th to release all records, documents, videos, and images related to Epstein, who died in 2019, and his former girlfriend and associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was serving a 20-year prison sentence. Lawmakers did allow the Justice Department to redact information that could harm victims or pending investigation specifically forbade redacting information that could cause embarrassment. While the DOJ has released millions of documents, images, and videos, it missed the deadline. However, the law did not include any consequences that if that happened. How much did Trump know about Epstein before arrest? Several powerful people and world leaders are named in the Epstein files, including President Donald Trump and former President Bill Clinton. Epstein had lived near Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida. Trump has reportedly denied knowing about Epstein's crimes. In 2019, for example, he said that he didn't know that Epstein molested girls. Quote, no, I had no idea. I had no idea, unquote, Trump said at the time. However, on Monday, the Miami Herald reported that in 2006, Trump called then Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Radier and told him that many people in New York City and Palm Beach knew of Epstein's activities with teenage girls. Oh, he's a teller. He's a teller. He's a teller. He throw people under the bus left and right, right? Wow. Quote, thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this, unquote, Trump told Ritter, according to a 2019 FBI interview with Ritter contained in the Justice Department files. Ritter told FBI agents that Trump revealed that Maxwell was an, quote, operative, unquote, of Epstein's. Trump told Ritter that, quote, she is evil and to focus on her, unquote. The Herald reported, wow, Trump is something else, man. Trump is too much, boy. That Trump is something else, man. Donald Trump, boy, Donald Trump. Man, look, and no surprise, right? Ritter said that Trump told him, quote, he was around Epstein once when teenagers were presented and Trump got the hell out of there, unquote. That sounds to me like it's a smoke screen. Okay, all of a sudden Trump, all this information that exonerates Trump. Trump also told Ritter that he knew Epstein, Trump also told Ritter that he threw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. Previously, Trump said that he borrowed Epstein from his club after he found out Epstein and Maxwell had tried to steal his employees. Quote, unquote, quote, of course, Trump knew about the girls as he asked Epstein to stop, unquote. Epstein wrote in an email in 2019. Maxwell had recruited 16-year-old Virginia Griffey from Trump's club, offering her a job as a masseuse for a wealthy man. She said Epstein trafficked her to the United Kingdom for then Prince Andrew. Griffey died by suicide in 2025. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Gruffy. The FBI denied that Trump called Ritter. Okay, this is now, according to the FBI, they denied that Trump called Ritter, like he said he did. Okay, here we go. Quote, we are not aware of any collaborating evidence that the president contacted law enforcement 20 years ago, unquote, the FBI said. The Post, lawmakers accused DOJ of protecting powerful men named in Epstein files appeared first in Straight Arrows News. Wow. Okay, so that FBI statement here where it says we are not aware of any collaborating evidence that the president contacted law enforcement 20 years ago. The FBI said that Cash Patel is not protecting the president, obviously, because he let it be known, or this article let it be known that the FBI is not corroborating with the Trump statement. Okay, well, that's what we. A complete list of files belonging to Jeffrey Epstein, unquote, and that the late sex offender, quote, was a more than just a pedophile. He was an intelligent asset. The U.S. House Representative Thomas Massey last night, quote, this is a quote, quote, last night I received a flash drive containing the complete list of files belonging to Jeffrey Epstein. Everything is there. Every billionaire, every campaign donor, every single person. Now let me explain why you haven't heard anything about this in the media, because are they're all in there. They will do everything to prevent these documents from being made public. Epstein was far more than just a pedophile. He was an intelligent asset. He was a part of a blackmail operation used to control billionaires, politicians, and world leaders. If this list even sees the light of day, the system as we know it will collapse. The public has the right to know the truth, and I am not afraid to share it. Unquote. Wow. Read that before, read it again, but yet they're still saying that this isn't true. Now they will say that this is not true, especially if they start looking at that this is information that came out. This is very, very interesting stuff now, because if this is true, there's some people that their lives are at stake, right? Yeah, people get killed behind this. Let's go see what we're talking about now.
Lutnick, well, remember, he claimed he wasn't involved or in contact. That is undercut by the emails. And at this time, whether he realized the files were ever going to come out or not, he was working for an administration that now was backing secrecy. He then was talking, while in office, about Epstein being a blackmailer.
That's what his MO was, get a massage, And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
Not just a blackmailer, says Lutnick, but one of the greatest. That's like saying a greatest drug deal ever or greatest criminal conspirator ever. It means that Lutnick is saying this guy did this a lot, even though his fellow cabinet official, Pam Bondi, was recently saying there was no blackmail and nothing else. And now the files suggest there was certainly a lot of people that there were leads for. So this is the tension inside the Trump administration with people that we're now learning were in the files, were emailing with Epstein, were discussing potentially visiting him while they talk about his blackmail operation. Then we get to recent history. Trump, of course, losing the battle to stop the Epstein law. It passed overwhelmingly. It required the DOJ to release the files. By the end of December, they started with basically under 1% and heavy redactions. We'll see here. And then, over 40 days past due, and thus breaking the law, after those 13,000 files, you get this new batch of 3 million. And many of the files have incriminating material that we've highlighted here, which can make more sense in the broader timeline. DOJ says this is the final drop. Epstein's accusers, though, note that after all of this delay, some lying, these errors, Trump keeping officials in his cabinet who now have been caught lying about this and had some tie to Epstein while saying he's a blackmailer. After all of that, victims note that the DOJ still had redaction errors at a minimum, that they exposed some identities, at the very same time that they seemed so intent to go to great lengths to delay, deny, defy.
Okay, so far what we got here is we got the pedophile thing is a very small part of this whole operation. It was just a tool to be able to blackmail all these billionaire, high-powered men that Epstein was facilitating these young women to. So all this here was a scheme to be able to blackmail the most prominent men in the world. Okay, in the world, and the Epstein uh, situation with the young girls was just a very small part of the operation. The big part of the operation was the blackmail all these high-powered men, getting this money. There's some money out there, huge amount of money. I'm talking about huge amount of money that has not yet been, well, it's hidden. Of course, we know they've pretty much. They've cleaned the money, right? They've used
they washed the money from some Epstein business of some sort. But we know that there was lots of money going on here. So this money laundering, there's money laundering somewhere. They cleaned up some money somewhere, and a huge amount of money. And this is where this article says that this money is going to be a collapse, because wherever this money is, it could be in the hands of foreigners. Like people like the Saudi person that was over there in the White House just the other day. Right. It could be over there with Putin. We don't know. But the point is that we do know that there's a large amount of money spread all over the world, that if this thing collapses, that money is going to be grabbed by somebody, I think. I mean, it's hard to say what's going on, but let's listen to what Arby got to say.
Or protect some people in the files.
I don't think that there's a single survivor who's like, no, we shouldn't have done this. No, it needed to be done the right way. And it's just not. Everything was a power play. And now I'm feeling like
this is a power play.
Yes.
My response to his comment is like the age-old phrase, this isn't over until we say it's over. Meaning the 1,200 survivors fight for our right to see all the files.
They really failed all of the survivors on this.
It feels kind of in a way like additional intimidation, which is something that I think we all felt during our association with Jeffrey Epstein.
The original crimes not dealt with, sometimes covered up by the government lying, and then finally following the law that it was forced to follow because it was so overwhelmingly passed over any possible veto by the president, who keeps trying to hide the Epstein files. So these are just some of the key points we've learned about some of the key players who are still in government, exercising power now, as well as the way we got here. So I want to be clear about what we're learning, because there have been all sorts of articles about what's failed, or how people are getting away, or whether there will be consequences and accountability, whether that's in the public sphere of civic life, in business, or even legally. We know more than ever now about the lengths that federal authorities from different administrations and powerful men and their well-paid allies, lawyers and others, were willing to go to bury these secrets. The obvious implication is it was not only to protect a controversial, then indicted, and later dead sex trafficker, but that they were trying to protect either themselves, the people who may have been a party to these crimes, including that chart of leads I showed you that we now know the government has had for years, or as well, government cover-ups, which we've seen in many dimensions, where because they failed to do the right thing, or somebody overruled the right thing, stopping that early case I showed you, you have powerful people in government and connected to their predecessors and successors who don't want to go back in and look at how these files show how the federal government has repeatedly failed victims and justice.
Well, the U.S. attorney wanted it to be otherwise for whatever reasons. We don't have to go into those. And I respect what you're saying. An indictment, even when it's filed, is just a charge.
In my opinion, they made a big mistake. And here's a mistake. They killed Jeffrey Epstein. Somebody killed Jeffrey Epstein. There was too much dirt out there. They still killed him when they should have left him alone. They should have left Jeffrey Epstein. Someone killed him. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it was that Donald Trump, because he does things like this. He'll move as if gangland style execution is going to solve everything. We know Donald Trump will move like that. Look at what he's doing now in the country. This is the problem. Someone killed Jeffrey Epstein. They shouldn't have killed him, because that was the doom and gloom to this whole thing. It was a doom and gloom. Yeah, they made a mistake by killing him.
It has to be proven.
Sure.
But the thing that's interesting is that we have the indictment now. I do not believe that anybody has the 82-page memo prosecuting the case. In other words, explaining why this indictment makes sense. They don't want that out, I believe. And if somebody has it, then let's talk about that. But I don't believe they have it.
Yeah, and you're speaking again. I'm only slowing you down because I just want to underscore the point.
Right.
When they say, oh, Bush era DOJ, well, it was complicated. This was the deal we could get. We learned as of Friday, first time ever, no, actually people in your office had a lot more. And they didn't just have it in their minds, because sometimes We see cases where a prosecutor has a grand idea, but they didn't really have it all. Here, it was not, as I mentioned, one or two alleged victims. It was a dozen victims, minors. I want to play Lutnick for you, and then I'll let you get to your other points, but I just want to get this in.
Sure.
There is a very serious standard in this country, which we apply, unlike some people, try to apply fairly for all, which is we don't do guilt by association. The fact that somebody is mentioned does not mean they're automatically a part of the crime. That has to be researched and proven, obviously. But there is no constitutional right to serving in the cabinet of the United States. There is no constitutional issue with whether there's accountability about Donald Trump, who campaigned allegedly against Epstein's crimes, now keeping on people who are implicated and who publicly lied, which raises the question, why did Mr. Lutnick lie? And by the way, there have been people who said, hey, they ended up at a dinner party in New York, they didn't talk to Epstein, and they didn't lie about it. They gave the defense, and then people can assess that. I want to play again what we showed in the timeline. This is Lutnick, who's currently in the cabinet. Take a listen.
All right.
And there's a massage table in the middle of the room. And he gets weirdly close to me. And he says, and the right kind of massage. My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy.
That was the public claim this past year. The emails released Friday show him trying to arrange visits to the island. There's following emails that I read in our timeline that suggest people on the Epstein side suggesting it occurred. It's clearly more than he said. Musk, meanwhile, accusing others of being in the files when he's in the files. Given that you're a prosecutor, can you take us inside the mind of someone who's not only has that exposure, but knows there's emails and then still is out there saying these things?
Maybe he was trying to reassure his wife more than he was trying to reassure us. I mean, how many men would say, I don't go there because my wife doesn't want me to go there. It's only seven steps from my house, and I didn't go back there. And then he slammed hard on the head because he has this arrogance people have who are already breaking the law. They'll never catch me. I can deny it. Who's ever going to know the truth? That's it. The guy is a liar. There's a deep, dark abyss within him without a soul. That's the key to all of these guys.
Now, fact check, I don't have a readout on whether he or others do or do not have a soul. Way above my spiritual pay grade. John, I promised you I'm running over on time with 30 seconds. You had a third point. What was that, sir?
Okay, well, the third point is a really important one because it's about the fact that in the document, January 30th, 2026, the Justice Department wrote a letter to the Senate and the House, and it said, yes, there are 6 million documents, but we only talk about 3 million because they're duplicates. The duplicates they claim are between the Southern District of New York and Florida, number one. And then they say there are 200,000 documents in this category. And in this category, they're blocking a large amount of them by privilege. What is the privilege to withhold from us what that prosecutor, the discarded prosecution, that what she said that her boss nixed? And there was an investigation, an AG's investigation that really kind of, I thought, just washed it over the thing. We should know what they claim is privilege because that's a smoking gun. What is in those 200,000 pages? That is something to know about.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, this thing is huge. Okay. Now, let's go here to this article and finish this article real quick because they had Pam Bondi, up today, grilling her to death. She's not answering any questions. Any questions for the Democrats. She's and of course the Republicans are except for Massey, Republican from Kentucky, raked her over the coals, just like the rest of the Democrats. But his colleagues on the Republican side, they sleepwalked her all the way through it, and she of course let them coddle her on through. But so it was heated though. It was very heated. But yeah, so let's finish this up real quick, and let's get here where it says, let's go to the sources, where it says sources, right? It says sources. Dan Gray, quote, is a J.R. Rowling in the Epstein files, unquote. Okay, let me